Last time you asked me if I had any other questions, and I said no because you overwhelmed me with information. But I do have a question that came up. Is like, if I want to sell my apartment, what do I need to do?
Well, it's not really a question of what do you need to do. It's a question, is it the right time for you? So
Sure.
I put together this report on how to sell your apartment for top dollar fast.
So this is a generic report thing, or do you do something specifically on my apartment building?
So this is a generic report first that just talks about the whole process.
Okay.
Because here's what you don't want to have happen. You don't want to put your property on the market and have it become shop worn because you pick some outrageous price that a buyer looks at it and says, I would never pay a 2.5% cap rate.
You see that with like cars or with anything, or you're just like, oh, no, and the discussion is closed.
Yeah. Yeah. End of discussion.
Yeah.
So in my book, I talk about that I have a 14-page analysis that I put together for for sellers.
Okay.
So if you called me and said, hey, I think I want to sell my apartment, the first thing I do would be to send you this report so you can just skim it and read it. And
lay of the land.
Yep. Get the lay of the land.
And then maybe I'll have some questions based on that are more appropriate, or that are better questions than I might have with just like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and what I typically do is ask a bunch of questions up front.
Yeah.
Why are you motivated to sell? If people say, I'm tired, I'm old, I want to retire, I don't want to handle tenants anymore, I don't want to deal with property managers, I'm done, I'm out.
Sure.
Then that tells me, okay, we're probably ready to just do an analysis so I can give you a number and we can sell your property fast. Because again, you don't want to just have it be shop worn.
Yeah. Well, and also I'll just give my example. I had a business that I was just done with, and I probably could have sold it, and I just closed it up because I was just sick of it and didn't want to deal with it anymore. This is probably a good scenario where, I'm done and I want to get rid of it, but I also need to make money for me and mine for a long time after this, and so you can not blow this thing out, but get them their best deal for the property, even though they're just sick of the whole situation.
Absolutely. Because here's a couple of factors. When you sell your apartment, you're going to either have to pay capital gains, or you're going to need to do an exchange, or you got to figure out what's your exit strategy. So that's one thing that we look at in the analysis.
Well, let me ask you something on that really pops into my head. So you say about an exchange. It feels like in my mind, well, I'm exchanging one problem for another. Are there other things you can exchange into that might be more easier to deal with?
Yeah. I have a lot of clients that get out of multifamily and they go into leased commercial property. So they'll buy like a Dollar General store, a 7-Eleven, an office building that has a medical building that has a doctor in it. And they're just getting the payment stream off of the building, but the tenant is responsible for the maintenance and the repair of the building, the taxes and the insurance.
So 7-Eleven doesn't own the 7-Eleven?
Nope, they do not.
How does that work?
Yeah.
And then does 7-Eleven pay the rent, or does the guy that owns is it a franchise, or how does so?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It depends. So pizza, Domino's comes to mind.
Yeah.
Most of those are owned and operated by franchisees, local guys, people that are running the facility, and they're the ones that have signed on the dotted line, but it's the Domino's name on the building.
Okay.
And then you go kind of up, what I call up the food chain.
Sure.
So now you go to a more national brand, like a Carl's Jr., a 7-Eleven, a Chick-fil-A. Those are corporately guaranteed.
Oh, so...
Big money.
I'm renting the place to someone who's been in business for 125 years and gets, what, a 5-year lease, a 10-year lease, a long lease.
Yeah. Dollar Generals. Have you ever seen a Dollar General?
Oh, sure, yeah. You see them in the little towns. They're everywhere.
Yeah, they're taking over the United States. They're kind of, I equate them to a mini Walmart. So when you see a brand new Dollar General, you know what that is? That is a beautiful brick building that has a brand new 15-year fresh cut lease on it.
Wow.
That's a money maker.
For a long time.
Yes. Because Dollar General does all the maintenance and repair. They don't even want an owner to show up on the property and pick up a popsicle wrapper. Because they don't want any question, well, is the landlord supposed to do that or are we supposed to do that?
Consistency so they can have economies of scale.
Yeah, they have their own repair guys, they have their own roof maintenance guys, they take care of everything. And you as a landlord just get a check in the mail.
So too good to be true. How do I get into this gig if I have an apartment complex and I want to sell that and get into something like that?
For some people, it's a little bit too big of a bite for economy of scale.
Oh, it's an expensive.
It's $2 million typically. It's 1.2 to 2 million at a price point for like a Dollar General as an example, because the purchase price is based off of the cash flow. So if it's a brand new building and they've got 15 years on that lease, you're probably in the 1.5 to 2 million range.
Sure.
But if it's a Dollar General, as an example, and there's 5 years left on the lease, you might be able to get that building for under $1 million.
So, dumb question. I come to you and you help me to do both these things?
Yeah, yes, because I help people go through the 1031 exchange process.
Which is so you can trade one property for another in a manner of speaking. You're buying one, selling one, but you don't have to pay the taxes on the profit you would have made from that building that you've had for forever.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And there's a little bit of a tricky nuance with a 1031 exchange.
Yeah.
You don't want to sell your building until you have found what you want to go into. Because once you sell your building or your property, you only have 45 days to identify what you're going to go into.
Oh my.
And I know some people right now that have 3 days left on their exchange. And if they don't find a property to purchase, they're going to pay $1 million in tax to the government.
Or buy something they don't want for too much and have a worse problem than they had before.
Exactly. Yes, that is definitely an issue for them.
Oh wow. And whoever they're buying from knows they
Exactly. Because in this situation, I actually represent the seller on this transaction.
Oh my.
And we know that this buyer only has 3 days left on their 1031 exchange, so it's like, you are going to pay our price, take it or leave it.
So you need to talk to an expert, you need to read the report, you need to get the book, you need to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I guide people through it because my job is to be the guide, to just help look at the pitfalls and advise you up front.
So you mentioned the report.
Yeah.
How do I get one?
Just email me, René at 1031guru.com, or you can go to my website, eugene-commercial.com. It's on my website.
Okay.